I've watched, in slow agony, my entire life pass before my eyes. Watched my only child grow up, get married, and have children of her own. I've seen births and deaths, firsts and lasts, and all the scrapes and scratches and triumphs in between. I've seen them all, imagined each and every one of them, in the time it takes for the light to change from red to green while I wait to make a simple left turn at an empty intersection. Not another car, or cyclist, or pedestrian around. And yet, I wait. I follow the rules. But I curse this one, no left turn on red. I curse it while I sit there. The inefficient use of time, a pet peeve of mine. I could have made the turn 20 times. Instead, I sit, waiting. I read somewhere that on average, a traffic light only takes 2 minutes to change. So why does it feel like a god's age when you're staring out your windscreen, watching the grass grow? Because the whole thing doesn't make sense, that's why. It's estimated that the average Australian spends almost 6 months of their lives queuing, 2 months of that sitting at traffic lights. Shouldn't we want to reduce this unnecessary wastage? Who wants to idle their life away at an intersection anyway? Why can't we turn left? It's especially irritating out in the burbs and in low-density population areas. Or at any intersection where it's clearly safe to make the turn. In fact, when I first started driving here, after moving from the United States, the notion that it was illegal to make a left on red seemed unfathomable. I was confidently turning left on reds all over the place. I'd get the occasional honk, but I brushed it off as being directed at someone else. I wasn't doing anything wrong. Then, a few months into my life behind the wheel in Australia, I learned from a friend that I was, in fact, breaking the law. Me, someone who prides herself on being a responsible citizen and good human. I was shocked and dismayed, and quietly irritated. Where I come from, we drive on the other side of the road. And right turns on red are completely legal, given that you stop, look both ways, and proceed with caution. But I know how obnoxious it sounds when an American compares cultural differences between an American and Australian way of doing things and not so subtly implies that his way is better. So I'll let a Brit do it for me. If you're familiar with the favorite car show, Top Gear, you may remember the host, Jeremy Clarkson, say that the right turn on red was America's only contribution to civilization. A backhanded compliment for sure, but I'll take it. Of course, he's right. The right on red was implemented to advance civilization, kind of. In the US anyway. In the western United States, the right turn on a red light has been allowed for more than 50 years. In the 1970s, however, it became almost nationwide law when the eastern states brought it on board as a fuel-saving measure after the fuel shortages of 1973. And in 1975, an act was passed that required a state to allow right turns on red lights in order to receive federal assistance for the development of mandated conservation programs. By 1980, all 50 states, plus Guam, Puerto Rico, and the District of Columbia, permitted the maneuver. It's common in other parts of the world, too. So why's the left turn on red such a bad idea here? Maybe because the ever-influential motherland doesn't allow it? Perhaps, but there's also the slightly more persuasive argument that the left turn on red reduces the perceived safety of the pedestrian. Perceived being the operative word. The assumption is that the driver turning left at an intersection will be preoccupied with the traffic from his right, the oncoming direction, and possibly not notice activity on his left, thereby causing a collision with a pedestrian or cyclist. But studies show there hasn't been a dramatic increase in the number of people getting run over by drivers turning right on red in the States, the equivalent of left on red here. Or in Quebec, where rights on red have been permitted since 2003, when studies showed that the maneuver didn't result in significantly more accidents. To be fair, a few Australian states allow it. In certain areas of New South Wales, Queensland, South Australia, the Northern Territory, and the Australian Capital Territory, you might come across a sign reading, "Left turn on red permitted after stopping." Even so, signs like that aren't common. As of 2016, only 6 intersections allow it in the entire state of South Australia. Brisbane rolled out a program between 2013 and 2015 that increased the number of such intersections to 50, out of 900. But who can call that ambitious? The lights, the waiting. Small things, I know. But isn't that what life is, a collection of the small things, all added up? The stoplights, the grocery store lines, the hope for something worth waiting for. Isn't the significance of our lives the cumulative result of the molecules of our emissions? Personally, I'd rather drive than sit idly by. But maybe I'm just impatient. Aubrey Perry is an Age columnist.